Do we have cards?
Yes, we do. Who's going?
I'll go. Doesn't matter. I'll go tonight.
Hello. All of you out there in TV land.
Is it TV Land? Yes. It used to come from the Muppets. Didn't say how much. All right. Hello, everyone out there in internet land. Welcome to another episode of Previously on the Journey. I'm Pastor JD and
Brandy?
Chanel.
Ron. Ron. And we just lost Droid Cam too.
No.
We're having some technical difficulties tonight, and here it continues. Brandy, do a dance.
I don't
Wow.
dance.
Do this.
Well, Brandy, we're waiting. Oh, there you go.
There you go. That was
Little
good.
shimmy shake.
That's it. That's all you get.
That's all you get.
Is anybody on? Is anyone watching yet?
Well, we have somebody else on
Yeah,
here.
a couple people, huh? Yeah. There's something.
Well, I'm one.
You're one.
Because I post as me.
Oh,
and
that's
not,
a good idea.
I could probably sign it as a church, but I post as me.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Okay. And there's Aaron and Chanel. Woohoo! Yeah, boy, it's been a fun day already. My goodness, I've been running around like crazy ever since I got here.
You're sweating like a pig, man.
I am. Well, that's partially because I'm
Jeez.
fat, so just regular movement
I'm
gets me.
not, but I sweat like a fat
Gets me
guy.
sweaty. All right, well, you guys at this point kind of know the drill, so we're going to go in, we're going to watch a clip together, and then we're going to talk about it and enjoy it and learn from it. And so clip number 1,
Let's do it.
here we go.
Put your headphones on.
The Beatitudes are ultimately about Jesus because he is the full embodiment. When we look at Jesus, we find someone who was poor in spirit and lived with humility. In Jesus, we find someone who mourned and wept over his people and his best friend. In Jesus, we find someone who is meek, not forcing the power inside of him on others. And in Jesus, we certainly find someone who hungers and thirsts for righteousness. We also find in Jesus the perfection of mercy. Someone who is pure in heart. There's no one more pure than Jesus. In Jesus, we find the true peacemaker. In Jesus, of course, we find the one who was severely persecuted for righteousness. You see, in Jesus, we understand who God is.
All right. So that was good stuff. You'll find it hilariously. So we use a technology in order to be able to create all of these clips. We use AI, and we use a website called Sermon Shots, which is amazing. Huge plug to them. Absolutely love working with them and Corey. But it really loved to let Pastor Noel talk for ages. And it really didn't want Pastor Tim's clips to be longer than like 22 seconds. So in order to get that one to be of any substance whatsoever, I had to click on some extra like slides in order to get that one a little bit longer. But anyway, so let's talk about it.
We're going to have to send Corey a repair ticket for that.
Totally. Any thoughts?
Just go ahead. Ladies first.
Aw.
My gut reaction was just it gave me a lot of peace, and I don't know if that's what he was going for. It was like an altar, type end of sermon type part of his message, which I think that's always a good note to end on, because I think there's a lot of turmoil in the world, and to understand that God wasn't this boisterous in your face, do what I say or else kind of message. It was, he was there for those that felt broken and meek, and that was my initial reaction.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did
it's
she
my turn.
Did she take what you were going to say?
Not at all.
No,
I was
we're
pausing for
different
dramatic
enough.
effect.
Yes.
Let it sink in, people. No, what struck me was the poor in spirit. I know he was relating everything to God or to Jesus to be the embodiment of the Beatitudes. I did look up poor in spirit. It is defined as recognizing one's spiritual poverty and need for God, which I found ironic if that's true that Jesus needed God since he was God. So I found that one to be a little eyebrow raising, but otherwise, yes, it's a good good way to define God or define Jesus as being the embodiment of the Beatitudes. But like I said, that one was a little bit eyebrow raising.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that Jesus, while he was here on earth, his whole entire goal was to show us the absolute perfect way to do it.
Sure.
And so if he expects us to be completely dependent upon God, I feel like Jesus had to show that he had complete dependence on God the Father, even though you are right. But I mean, Satan basically tempts him with those same questions, right?
Well, in the beginning, he tempts him, but then he doesn't. He reneges all those temptations with the word. But the only place I could see that being true on the absolute need, I suppose, would be in the garden. At the end, when he's like, "Can you take this from me? Can you make this better? But if not, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And that's the place where I think need for God, his need for his Father. Although he did pray a lot and get off and do all those things, but yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
the life of Jesus is very interesting to try and carry both of those, to be fully God and could do whatever he wanted, and yet was, I think, his whole purpose while he was here on earth was to try to show us, hey, this is the way I want you guys to do it too.
Yep.
I'm going to do it perfectly, and then you try to model your life after me to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
So, Brandy, any thoughts?
I think that's what I mostly take away from it is it's just a good reminder that in everything that we do, Jesus shows us an example of how to do it correctly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, also, just to remind you guys once again, if you're watching live, chat is being monitored. Brandy will, if you make a comment and you want to join the conversation or you have something interesting to talk about, Brandy will let us know what you guys are saying, and you can join the conversation that way because we want you to be a part of this. This is your show. This is not really our show.
You're chatty about everything else in life. Why not this kind of stuff? Come on, people.
Right. 100%. So that's why she's here. That's why she's got the laptop going, is so that she can, interact with you guys and follow your comments. So if you got something to say, join the conversation. This is where we go deeper. That's the whole purpose of this, is to go a little bit deeper than what Pastor Tim can do on 20, 30 minutes. That is not meant to be the only time that you think about the Bible, is Sunday mornings when Pastor Tim preaches.
Nope.
There's supposed to be quite a bit more
Oh, yeah.
that you do. And so this is just one more touch, a nice, easy way where you can be in your pajamas and we can be here.
If you're in your pajamas at
things.
7 o'clock, you go.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next clip and keep it rolling.
He said negative peace is the absence of tension, but positive peace is the presence of justice. It's the presence of right relationship with God, with our neighbor, and with ourselves. And that is true peace. True peace is the presence of right relationship with God and right relationship with one another. And we fall into the trap often of thinking that true peace is the degree to which there is no conflict. And it's simply not true. Because as humans, we are going to experience conflict. And so we need to reframe what it means to live in peace.
Yeah, this one was so good. I love what Pastor Tim says right there, where he says that we think that as humans, that we're supposed to be absent of conflict. Like that means you're at peace with everyone. And that is 100% totally not the peace that surpasses all understanding that the Bible is talking about. There is conflict because you're humans and we think differently. Brandy and I never have conflict because I'm wrong. Even right now in this moment, I am incorrect about something. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why she's laughing.
Yeah. No, I mean, there definitely is a little bit of truth to that. That even between someone who I love, there are things that we don't necessarily agree on, and that doesn't mean that we're not at peace with each other. That just means that sometimes there are things that we take different stances on.
Been 21 years. We're both still alive.
That's right.
And we have 3 small people that are not as small anymore.
I was going to say,
but
some,
they're still
not
alive.
so
Wait, Brandy's
small.
small?
We were small.
They're taller than you.
They're all taller than me now. We're just one in the house.
But that's some peace that surpasses all understanding because, there's a lot of boys in that house, and somehow Brandy has a lot of peace.
Sleep with her daughter off at college.
What about you two?
Oh, you're always going to go first.
I
What
know.
ladies first?
I don't know.
I ain't falling into that trap again.
I don't know if I have. I mean, I would agree. So I try to take more. I think I tend to relate a lot to my professional life, and conflict is not bad. It can be bad. I think there's healthy and unhealthy ways to do it, but you can't improve until you point out to someone, hey, this isn't aligning with the goals here, and they have an opportunity to then receive that, or to not, and do whatever they feel they need to do to not be in conflict, which sometimes is leaving the organization. But I mean, but you have to give the person the opportunity to even recognize that there's a disconnect. So and I think that's really what it is more than anything is just an opportunity to say, hey, there's a difference here. Let's talk about it. Because until you have awareness of something, that's in disagreement, you don't have an opportunity to fix it. So I don't know.
And that can be totally healthy,
Yeah,
right? That doesn't
100%.
just because it's called conflict resolution, it doesn't mean that there's some massive divide that that's the whole reason to resolve.
Yeah.
Is to come together and say, okay, you're here and I need you to be here.
How do we
And
get there?
And how are we going to move, the bar or do the thing or whatever, if I'm in authority over the situation or whatever. But that doesn't mean that I don't have peace with you.
No.
Like I'm not trying to begin World War III between you and I.
And sometimes it's a communication issue. It's like maybe it wasn't communicated well, and that's my issue as the person that's trying to get person B at another level, is that it wasn't communicated well, and I just have to find out where that disconnect happened. It doesn't mean they necessarily did anything wrong. It could be that I did something wrong,
Right.
and we just got to figure out where that was. So
Those of us that have been through a lot of management training, we've been taught many, many times, it's never the person, it's the process.
it's the process.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. Aaron, any thoughts?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right.
Hang on, JD. We have a comment online.
Yes.
Oh, yay.
So Dylan says, according to me, true peace is a state of inner calmness and serenity, often described as a feeling of contentment and harmony, free from worry and anxiety, and usually associated with qualities like love, compassion, and forgiveness.
That's great.
Yeah, that is. And I think that's so true that usually, he mentioned a lot of fruits of the Spirit in there. And usually the fruits of the Spirit, you don't just operate in one. It's a lifestyle where you're pursuing all of those different fruit in your life, and some you're going to be great at, and some you're not. Patience, looking at you, but the fruit should be evident in your life, and this peacefulness should be one of those things that comes forth and makes you different.
And I think also with conflict resolution, the compassion and the kindness come out in that also. So, if you just let somebody go down a path that's not correct, it's like there's no compassion and kindness in that, in my opinion. Now, and there's also got to be a level of compassion and kindness in the way it's communicated. And so, definitely a lot of really great points were brought in that comment. Thank you for
Well,
commenting.
that comment also gets boiled down to righteousness.
Yes.
Which we were defining. For those of you who didn't see it, may not care, but our first
They
pilot
care.
episode, and it was good. It was fun. Right standing with God, and so aligning yourself with the Holy Spirit, which then brings the fruit of the Spirit, and that then is defined out even further by the things you just described in your comment. So fantastic. But it all points back to righteousness, which is what Pastor Tim was pointing to at that last part of his comment was peace is right standing with God, which we were defining as righteousness last
Right.
week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you're going to see, a lot of, this gets to the heart of Jesus in that he loves you too much to let you stay where you are. And so therefore, he wants to work on some conflict resolution with you, right? He describes it as, he's the gardener and you're, the branches, and he has to prune. And, that's conflict resolution. That's Jesus coming into your life and saying, I see some areas where we could get better, and you may not agree with me right now. And you can choose to just walk away, like Nell said, right? You can separate from the company. But if you want to stay in the company, we got to get these things better. And so really that gets at the heart of Jesus. But, Pastor Tim has said this often in a lot of sermons that he's preached about how Jesus was a master of meeting people with truth coupled with grace,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that's how you present these things. You don't come at someone with an attack because nobody's going to receive that, right?
Yeah.
You come at it with, hey, I think you could be doing better in this area. And that's really what I want for you in your life. That's how Jesus approached everything,
I think he had a whole sermon series on that back in his first 2 years, Grace and Truth, or at least a sermon.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are YouTubers,
It's there.
go
They're
to
all
the
online.
playlist.
It's there. So,
Go check it
somewhere
out. It's there.
in the
Worth it.
archives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo. Well, that was good. Yeah.
was.
See how much better it is when you guys talk. Okay. Let's keep moving.
Jesus says to us, there's a cost. And Jesus says, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. And some people think that means that we've got to push our religion on everybody else no matter what. That's not righteousness. That's being a jerk. Doesn't say, blessed are you who are persecuted because you're a jerk. Righteousness. Blessed are you when persecution comes your way because you're following Jesus. Because you're being merciful. Because you're making peace. Because you're living from a place of purity of heart. Jesus says, great is your reward in heaven. You may not get recognized here on earth.
Don't be a jerk and laugh, JD.
No, it's true.
No, you're funny. I giggled too.
I'm not sure that that's in the Bible.
I think that's what he was going for.
I think Tim.
Yeah,
I think that was a Tim version.
That's totally a Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Timism.
Gospel according
It's-
to
yeah.
Tim.
So okay, we kind of just talked about that, and then Pastor Tim just,
I know.
that's how he chose to close his sermon too. That maybe you guys are really good at sermon writing and you don't even know. Because Aaron, you nailed it. That's
You never
exactly
know.
where he went. So
Yeah, been listening to Matthew and Mark a lot lately on my drive to work, and even Paul a couple times in Corinthians, and he was, maybe was it Jesus and Matthew, was saying, do all these things that I've taught you to do, show mercy, do the right things I've laid out, mercy being a big one, and there's no law against that. So if people are persecuting you for your walk with Jesus, not your walk of religion, but your walk of Jesus, then that's an attack of the enemy, in my opinion. It isn't a.
That was good.
that was good. That's 2 points.
There you go, 2 points. Maybe I can get a third. But yeah, so that's when the persecution comes in, when you're actually walking right.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And you don't have to shove it down people's throats. You know, you don't have to be a jerk about it if you
No,
just
Jesus
live
repelled people without ever
without-
really saying much to
without-
them.
No, yeah.
A few
just
rebukes here and there.
by loving others and
Yeah.
healing the sick and being there and praying for people and, you know, forgiving people of their sins and, you know, just as, you know, God does. And
Living his
his
life.
everyday life in righteousness. And you don't have to like run at people and tell them you're gonna go to hell, you're a sinner. It's like
Beat him over the head.
it's just like when someone's like saying like, oh, it's because you're fat. It's like, well, you know what? We all know we're fat, so let's just stop it. You know, no one needs to tell me. I know. So, but you know,
Yeah.
but there's definitely ways to like be healthy. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's just kind of where my thoughts were on that.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I mean, because, you know, I think one of the things that I love the most about Jesus is that when he was here on this earth and he was, you know, doing all the work that he was doing, his message was super consistent, right? Like, even as he healed all these different people, he almost told all of them the exact same thing. Hey, go and sin no more. Hey, the most important thing is that you get the sin out of your life. Hey, neither do I condemn you, you know, about your sin, but go and sin no more. You know, he would constantly, because the physical healing, I think to Jesus was just a means to an end.
Oh yeah,
It was just
the
a-
conduit to get to them.
Yeah, it was just a way for him to have those different interactions with people of, okay, now that, you know, I've healed you of, you know, leprosy, awesome. Hey, one guy that came back out of 12 or 13 or whatever it was, awesome on you. Now, can keep praying, keep going, you know, keep going to the synagogue now that you can.
Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop.
Yeah. So definitely.
Don't fall back in your Jewish religion.
There's a lot here.
Yeah.
So the first thing that he said was there's a cost. And there is a cost to all of this because our sinful nature wants to take over everything. And it is selfish and it is self-centered. And you have to fight against that every single day. And there's a cost to that. You go against society, you go against what other people think about you. And a lot of people get to a point where they just get tired of paying that cost. And so they stop and walk away.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
That's a good point too.
That's why you need to be constantly filled, right? That's why that
Yes.
Yeah.
Bible says constant, and it's hard. You're totally right.
And you need the community support of the church around you because you can't do it on your own.
No,
Right.
no, for all of us introverts.
Well, and I mean, you know, people are just watching for the next time that you fail, right?
Right.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and so, you know, you can do so many things right and follow Jesus and, you know, live that everyday life. And then, you know, you swear once at work and then, I thought you were a big Mr. Christian. I am. But have you hit, you know, your thumb with a hammer today?
Yeah,
it,
right.
it hurts like a lot. And sorry that I slipped.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's what people remember. And then you do get down on yourself, right? Like you think, man, I've served all this time, and the only thing that Tammy's going to remember
Yeah.
is the one
one
time
slip
that
up.
I swore.
Yep.
Yeah,
We were talking
and
about
that's
that last week.
her testimony of me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were talking about
So.
that exact or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Grace.
And so so the cost is huge because you got to pick up that cross every day. You
It's
know,
the cost of pride, right? Well, I mean, let's boil it down even further. Is it the cost of pride? Because when you were labeling or rattling off, society will make you pay for it. Your work may make you pay for it.
Your family.
Your family,
Non-Christians.
non-Christians. I don't know that
And
they care
Christians,
as
too.
much.
yeah,
But definitely those top three, because those are the people that interact with you the most. You know, especially if you're in a place all the time. They're like, oh, I see what you're doing. You know, extracurriculars. You know, you fly off at the handle at your kid at a sporting event one time because they were being, you know,
because they deserved it.
ding dong or
Because they
something.
got to get better.
Right. But the people around you know you're a Bible believing Christian, and they are like, so you're just, yeah. There's a price, heavy price. But it's
Yep.
pride. That's the price.
Yep.
And that's humility is the antithesis of that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love Paul so much, because he was just one of the most just transparent Christians I think that have ever walked the earth, even though, he had such a terrible beginning, to his life and the things that he did and how he persecuted Christians. But he would constantly talk about, man, I die daily. The things that I want to do, I don't do. And the things that I shouldn't do are the things that I do. And this dude wrote 2/3, like a huge chunk of the Bible, the New Testament.
He got it.
And yet he recognized all the time, the thing I do the most, I fail. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And where I feel like I could have done more for Jesus or been a better witness of Jesus, I screw up. So if Paul says that about himself, calls himself the chief of sinners, you're probably doing a heck of a lot better
Maybe.
than you think you are. And we just get down on ourselves so much, and then we want to do what Brandy was talking about and just throw in the towel.
Just walk away.
And you'd be like, this Christian thing obviously wasn't for me, because the one time I offended somebody, and now that my witness is ruined, and now I'm being persecuted.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Well, then
Nope.
That's
You're
not-
being persecuted in your own mind. Go,
Yep.
go get your big box of chocolate chip cookies. So.
well, and that's when you get back to the whole we talked about last week, grace and mercy, and for yourself. It's like, get back up on that horse, let that one go. And Cooper, my youngest, he's like, Mom, how do you move on so quickly? And
Yeah, that's been his thing this week.
That's been his thing this week, and so he's just been really focused on, when I do something bad, how do you get past it so fast? He wants to sit and dwell on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
that's what he's telling us.
Yeah, and it's like, well, bud, you gotta recognize it for what it is, figure out, can I learn from it, and then
Acknowledge the failure and move on.
acknowledge the failure. Can you learn from it? What could you do differently next time? And then move on, because you
Yep.
can't. It's already happened.
Yep.
You can't go back and change it.
That's right.
So let's figure that out. So it's a life lesson, I think, for all of
Come on,
us
Christians.
in different parts of our lives.
We can do it.
We can.
Good discussions. All right. Well, let's keep on trucking.
When many people think about peacemaking, it's about securing some environment of tranquility, even if it means getting rid of our enemies. Getting rid of the people who don't like us, so that we can enjoy peace. But when Jesus talks about being a peacemaker, he's not at all talking about eliminating your enemies. He's talking about a different kind of life, which, even with our differences, it means that our differences don't automatically lead to division.
So yeah, just a short one there to kind of close this section up. But
I was thinking about Matt. No, I was listening to Mark in the car today. And Jesus was constantly, after big crowds and after confrontations with the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all the others, whatever, he would go find a desolate place to pray. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of us lack. Although I like to say I like to pray in my car, I'm generally yelling in my car, not necessarily the drivers, but at God, going, what's going on? I don't understand this. Why can't you speak to me a little bit louder? But that whole idea of we can remove ourselves, not for isolation, but isolation enough in such a way to commune with the Father.
yeah,
That's good.
And a lot of times that brings a moment of peace. Just even saying it out loud, not even speaking it in your head, because as a lot of us know, our heads are full of garbage, and what comes out of it is terrible. So you got to get it out loud. But Jesus modeled it, like we've been talking about the whole time.
Yeah.
He got away. The Bible says to a desolate place.
Right.
And I was actually going to look that up, and I forgot to today because it was a busy day at work. But my mind in a desolate place is like nothing. Like he went up a mountainside, probably amongst a bunch of rocks and little shrubs, and there was nothing.
right.
So to me, that speaks of no distractions.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever that takes. I mean, Jesus was looking for it all the time. The Gospels are repute with him going, and he tried to get away, and he tried to get away, and he tried to get away. And sometimes he just couldn't. A lot of times he did. But
Yeah. Well, because if not, then you get into what Pastor Tim was saying there, where we think, okay, in order for me to be at peace, Lord, I need you to smite all of these. Have you ever
that
wished
prayer's
that? I
come out
prayed
of
that
my
on
mouth
someone.
before.
Smite
everybody
them,
go
please.
away.
Like,
Almighty Smiter, whatever that came from.
and so we do get to that point where you just reach your limit, and rather than get secluded like Jesus modeled for us and showed us, we instead just wave our fist at God often, right? Like, man, my work sucks because my work sucks. Well, yeah, I mean, work sucks because,
work is work.
It's work.
but at the same time, what was your motivation when you came to work today? And did you get yourself in the right mindset before you showed up? And, how much have you prayed in the last 24, 48, 72 hours? And, there's so many compounding things that get you to, are you upset because your work is making you upset? Are you upset because there's other people? Are you really upset because you haven't done the things that you need to do to clear your mind and get yourself into a headspace that you should be at when you come in here?
Yep.
Because you're going to be around humans, and humans are fun.
Knuckleheads.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm a human. I'm a knucklehead sometimes. I'll take.
All right.
Head.
Well, it is that time again. So we'll see if this works. That's right. It's time for getting to know you. And if you missed the pilot episode where I did it, doggone it.
It's out there on Facebook. You can find
It is. It is. But
look
today, we're going to go after Aaron and ask him some questions. Brandy, why don't you start, and then we'll just go around the horn like we do.
Aaron, do you have any hobbies?
No.
This is going to be awesome.
That's a lie.
I know that's not true.
It's not
Oh,
two
tell me
truths
one
and a
of them.
lie. It's a
at
different
least
game.
two.
Yeah.
Yes, I have hobbies. I have a massive fascination with Legos.
Massive.
Been collecting since I was 4, and I'm 44 almost, so I'll be able to do the math.
Pretty easy to say.
Yes.
Yeah, right? I made it easy on everybody today. Electronics, computers, which has led to a career, sort of. DIY. I love to break down my house and put it back together, as my wife will begrudgingly attest to.
He's amazing, though. I don't know if he'll ever admit to
He likes to break down other people's houses and fix them too.
Yeah, well, I mean, one time.
Does he
One time.
like that?
It was nerve-wracking,
Yeah, I
I'll
was
be
gonna say
honest,
he
because
was
it's
he was
not
nervous.
I mean, he's
Like,
amazing.
Are you sure you want me
Yeah.
to do this?
I was
It's going to
nervous
be a big
because
hole.
that's not my thing.
I mean, he's also a spider monkey. I don't know if that's a hobby of his,
That's the DIY aspect of things.
but
climbing ladders and getting up in those awkward places that just make
Yeah.
me cringe because he's going to break his neck, but he never does.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's that would be probably the big 3, 4, 5. I've been wanting to learn to weld and work on cars and build a solar array in our backyard from the 59 panels on our house.
That's it. That's it.
So if anybody knows how to do that,
To my chagrin.
I'm interested
Okay.
about that.
So, what's something you're proud of accomplishing?
Not when I started, but now that I'm here, creating a family would be a big one. That wasn't necessarily in my sights early on in life, but have a wonderful wife and 3 kids who are amazing most days, as most parents would say. But yeah, they're pretty amazing. So that would be a massive one.
talk more about this amazing wife. What's that one like?
Oh,
Yeah, so
stop
she's
it.
sitting straight to my right. She puts up with all my anxieties and all
This
my
is about him,
ADHD
not
tendencies.
me.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I grew up in the 80s and 90s when that was kind of a faux pas, but I'm pretty sure, knowing our youngest, that I have some of those tendencies. So, yeah. So she puts up with all that. So there's hope for you out there, for those who are like me.
Yeah. Don't worry. We'll get Nell later.
That's right.
What's a book, movie, or TV show you'd recommend and why?
So I'm a big sci-fi fan. Not so much Star Wars anymore because of the way they treated it, and not so much Star Trek the way they've treated it.
It might come back, though.
It might. Kathleen Kennedy's retiring. Yeah. That's the best news I've heard in like years. But I would recommend Stargate. Movie from 1994.
Oh, yeah.
They adapted it. The guy that wrote it adapted it, or the guys that adapted it gave it 10 seasons, 3 additional movies, and 2 spin-offs, 3 spin-offs. There was a cartoon, which was terrible. And the last spin-off, which was 2 seasons, was also terrible. But you can make your own opinion about that.
SG-1
So Stargate,
at
SG-1,
Atlantis.
you can get it on Amazon.
But that's where we got Jason Momoa. And so,
That's true.
The second,
Yeah.
the first spin-off,
and so,
Atlantis.
And it-
as my wife just said,
Ooh,
it was worth it.
ooh, ooh.
Okay,
Do you hear
Brandy.
more of that
I
expounded?
definitely appreciate some Stargates.
Yeah.
And I appreciate people like, no, just joking.
All right, keep going.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Sorry.
She doesn't know how the game works.
I do know how the game works. Do you have any hidden talents?
Ooh.
I can wiggle my ears, which I hear is a 1 in 4 thing.
Interesting.
I can raise my eyebrows, flare my nostrils on command.
I'd zoom in, but I don't have that
Kind
capability.
of scary. I can whistle, which I don't know necessarily a talent. Some
Yeah,
people can, some people
Our
can't.
children
But hold on.
respond.
But you whistle on a different level from what everyone else. But we won't demonstrate because it would kill you all. But he can whistle like nobody's business.
And we trained our children since they were young that anywhere they are, they hear that whistle and they come. And
Running?
it's-
Running.
Yes.
Well, not so much anymore. They're
running,
lazy because they're teenagers, but you know.
But we don't have to wait long. It's a beautiful thing. And if anyone can whistle, that would be a huge parent tip.
I hear that's actually a thing outside the U.S.
Yeah.
Us U.S. folks think it's kind of strange, but I hear outside of that, people make other noises to like bring their children or just to like
Yeah.
motion people, and it freaks people out in the U.S.
I don't know.
So it's not really a unique. My dad did it. Anyway,
Yeah.
move on.
Oh,
really
my
cool.
turn. So what if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be? And why? I'm going to throw in the and why.
why?
Yeah.
The immediate name
Don't
came.
say Jesus.
Well, I mean, I thought about that before.
I mean, I would like to.
He wouldn't know what I was saying, and I wouldn't know what he was saying unless he got
Oh,
the.
different
I
language.
think he'd know. I think
Played
he.
that scenario out. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
I
would
think-
like to think he would.
I think Jesus would be okay.
But it's not Jesus, although I would love to talk to him that way at lunch. The immediate person that came to mind is Abraham Lincoln before he was assassinated.
Well,
Or after.
I mean,
You
I
know,
know that's really stupid to
Zombie
say,
Lincoln would work.
but people are like, well, what about right before he got elected? Because he was the lawyer or senator. Or what about right after? I'm talking about later in the
after
war.
the Civil War.
No. I mean, that's right after he got right as he was getting
Yeah.
assassinated. But him specifically because I learned that originally he wanted to send the slaves back to Africa. That was the whole shtick of his party. But as he spent time in the hospitals and as he spent time as president, obviously, and his attitude changed where it was freedom for all, not just removing what he saw was a problem because that's what caused the North and the South to split.
Yeah.
But he saw no matter who you were, skin color, gender, it didn't matter. Who you were, it didn't matter. All
Deserve freedom.
deserved freedom.
Yeah.
And so I would love to sit with a Lincoln at that stage of his life
Yeah.
and talk to him
could
about
see
that.
That's a good.
Yeah, good answer.
Nell, would you like to? Or I think that's a
Oh,
bell ringer. Yeah.
That's 3.
Yep.
Well, it's 2.
No, you only get 1 point for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's 3 points.
Yeah, it is. So,
Field goal.
all right. Well, now you know a little bit more about Aaron and Abraham Lincoln. Whoa, that was all for free, and you didn't
It's all
even.
for you, YouTube.
You didn't
or
even know.
Facebook. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's continue on, and
week 2.
we've got some more sermon clips to jump into in a few more minutes. So let's keep going. And again, if you're in the comments and you'd like to say anything, please jump in and keep it going. Okay.
Listen, all of us say 4-letter words. We just spiritualize ours. Uh-oh. We may not say any of the big ones, but we say them. Darn it. God bless it. Oh. Good Lord. Jesus crackers.
What?
Brood of vipers. That's in the
I've
Bible.
never used that term.
Mother of the Most High. We spiritualize our 4-letter words to make it feel like it's okay. And I get asked all the time, is cussing okay? Is it a sin? And every time I refer to what Jesus says in Matthew 15, it's a matter of the heart. It's a matter of the heart. In other words, it's not the words you say as much as it is the heart with which you say them.
All right. Who wants to take a stab at that?
Christmas story.
But I didn't say fudge.
He had Raka on the screen, which I thought meant fool. You said don't say that, right?
Yeah,
Again, it's intent.
it's always intent.
Yeah. My brother and I had that conversation once about what makes a word a bad word, just socially acceptable things, because
But we go back to also culture, it's like, I agree 100% with everything that he said. And,
yeah,
but like our culture doesn't understand that. When you run into people that are non-Christians and stuff, they're still like, oh, you're not supposed to say that because you're a Christian. They think there's so many legalities to it, but it's like Jesus just called us to love one another and to follow him. Like that's what he called us to. He never just straight up said, don't say
Right.
these words. Don't,
well, Jesus did say brood of vipers.
And he did say
So
brood
did
of
John.
vipers.
I mean, come on.
So
But I think there, and I can't remember where it is in the Bible, and shame on me for not being a better scholar. But Brandy and I have had this discussion many, many, many times, and we've been through a lot of different small groups that have talked about this. And the most definitive thing that we can find is where the Bible tells you that you should not do anything that causes your brother to stumble.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. And so in saying that, if it's viewed as a stigma out there in the world that cussing a bunch makes you less attractive, or people have this view of that, well, why add that to your repertoire?
makes God less attractive.
Romans
Right,
14,
yeah.
JD.
You don't want to.
Right, there you go.
Romans 14 for you.
And so, why add that into what you say? Now, when you substitute it with shoe cussing, like Pastor Tim was mentioning there, okay, well, did you defeat the purpose, or what was the point? What is the difference between the D word and dang? Nothing really, because going back to the hitting my thumb with a hammer, if I shout out something in that moment, I am meaning what I'm meaning, no matter what. Even if I say I'm still meaning the D word, even though I didn't say it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening there. But that doesn't mean that I'm putting that at someone.
Right.
Then, okay, now we've taken on a whole different meaning. There's one thing to say that Jon Snow was the bastard child of blah, 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 Lord, whatever. And there's another thing to call somebody that word.
Right.
Those are two entirely different things. Now, you may be like, oh, Pastor JD just said bastard. Okay, he did. But in a historical context, that word is okay. Then it means what it means, that you had a child out of wedlock. We put the what is it?
The heart, the soul,
connotation.
Negative connotation.
The connotation behind words versus the denotation. We're the ones who do that.
Yeah.
And so then I think it's down to, okay, who is my audience? And what am I trying to purvey to them about who I am?
Right.
And then that dictates, therefore, should I walk in here with a Corona and drink it in front of you guys? No, probably not, because that's not viewed on well. I don't drink that stuff, but
Well, it also goes back to what we were talking about earlier about righteousness and about what it takes to become righteous. And if we're walking in that, then the immortal words of Toby Mac would say, to speak life, don't tear people down with your words.
Right.
I used to tell my kids all the time before they got on the bus, speak life today. Don't speak death. Mm-hmm. And so cussing is generally, in my opinion, falls down into the tear down. Now, I know some people swear just in their everyday language, and it's not directed at anybody, but in most cases, when we're talking about things like that, it's a tear down. It's not a build up.
Right,
And
right.
we should be known by our build up and not our tear down.
right.
We're supposed to tear down the dark places.
Yep.
We're supposed to build up
Right.
the people.
If you want to swear at Satan, I think God's down with that. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's some interesting theology. Let's dive into
No,
that.
I'm just playing. Just playing.
Would somebody like to comment on that?
Anyways, fiery darts. Okay, let's. Anything more on that?
I mean, I work with kids, so the
Things that come out of their
the
mouth.
constant battle of the cussing with the 4 and 5-year-olds in kindergarten, especially with the population that I work with. I mean, that's just their language at home. They don't understand what that means.
She thinks.
Oh no, because you can ask them, do you know what that means? And they're like, nope.
I just know my mom or your daddy says
Yep,
it when I'm
mom
they're
and dad
mad.
say it all the
Yeah.
time. So I
And
don't
when
know.
I say it, everyone laughs.
And that right there is the problem because they do it to get
Attention.
attention
Response.
and get a response. And if you just look at them, say, please don't say that in class, and move on, it stops real fast. But then the second somebody else comes in and gets in their face about the cussing, here it goes again. So
Right.
your reaction to it sometimes also.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, you brought up a really good point. Just talking about just the reaction to what other people are saying. And so like how and you know, we were just talking about the cussing in and of itself. It's just like it and then going back to the righteousness and speaking, you know, peacefully, you know, with people. It's like when you're around someone that's cussing, how are you treating them? Are you treating them with love and grace and mercy and kindness, and are you going to be able to interpret God to them, you know, regardless of what the language is that they're using?
Oh, I see where you're going with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, no, that's a good
Yeah.
point too.
Or are you going to
Yeah.
respond to the language that they're using?
Right.
Instead
Or are
of
you going to get offended or
Offended,
yeah, so-
yes.
yeah.
Have disdain for them.
Self-righteousness,
self-righteousness
Yeah.
in that
that
moment,
puts
like,
them
how
in a
dare you
place
speak like that in front of me?
that's negative.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Even though as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to go tell that exactly, you know. And so, yeah, that's such a great point that,
Yeah.
you know, I'm pretty sure that when they threw the prostitute down at Jesus's feet, she wasn't like, "Oh, my Lanta," you know.
Maybe.
I'm sure there was some
Probably not.
fun language coming out as they drug her through the streets,
Maybe.
and you know,
Or maybe even the guys doing the throwing.
Doing the throwing.
yeah,
You don't know
exactly.
what their acceptable
Yes.
words were back then.
And so, you know, it's treat others as you would like to be treated, but also be mindful of others and who you represent everywhere that you go.
Right.
Again, going back to all the way back to what Aaron was saying at the beginning, that's why you got to go get filled up. And you got to make sure that you're ready to take on the day, because there's going to be all kinds of stuff that's going to happen throughout the day that is going to start to drain
Yeah.
off of that spiritual life that you've built up. And if you haven't filled up enough before you start taking on the day, yeah, you're going to start feeling it.
So Sarah says that Satan comes in many forms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so we just have to be mindful, and we have to be prayed up. And I think that it's important that, you know, we're ready to go every day.
Every day.
And then we remember that tomorrow, unfortunately, is another brand new day. And the mercies and grace that I had yesterday, they're probably not enough to get me and potentially you through the next day.
Ephesians
new.
6, people. Ephesians
new.
6.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, put on your
Ephesians
armor.
6.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's do one more, and then we'll shut her down for the day. So here we go.
Says this clearly, also in Matthew's gospel. Jesus says this in Matthew 15. But the things that come out of a person's mouth actually come from the heart. Those are the things that defile them. For out of the heart comes evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, and slander. Jesus says that all kinds of things, including anger, it's actually coming from inside of us. To which we very naturally respond, no, it's out there. It's them. It's her. It's him. And Jesus says, no, what's inside of you will come out. Whatever's in your heart will come out.
More good stuff there.
More good stuff.
Yep.
So one of the things I remember in Matthew this week was that may have not been in 15, but Jesus was addressing the Pharisees, the teachers, and they were whining about why the disciples weren't washing their hands to eat because it was making them unclean. And Jesus was like, whoa. You know, he didn't say this, but the connotation was God put that rule in place, if it's in your law, to keep you free from sickness, but it didn't make you spiritually unclean. And that's what he was mostly worried about. So what Tim was talking about, that verse talks about cleanliness, the spiritual cleanliness, and the heart. When we talk about the heart, are all of our combined experiences. So back then, you can't imagine what what was in them. You know, a begrudgingness for Rome, bad crops, crappy leaders. You know, cycle it back up to 2025, and what are we putting in our spirit? What are we ingesting? Netflix binging, YouTube binging, the latest news binging, gossip mongering,
Social media.
social media, you know. So, yeah, it's going to come out of us. What you put in is what you're going to get out. Garbage in, garbage
Yeah,
out.
the
is the
Geigo
old
effect.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Any thoughts?
watch what you're
So-
putting in your body.
When I think about this, I think about a tree that is dying from the inside out. You never know from the outside that there's anything wrong with it. But when you go to lean on it, it'll just fall right over because there's nothing on the inside holding it up anymore.
Substance.
All
There's-
rots and
there's no
stuff.
it's all rotten
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
inside.
that's good.
But you will never see that from the outside. So it's just hard to tell from the outside. So to me, it goes back to not judging people. And
Yeah.
Understand? Yeah. Nell, any thoughts?
No, I think you guys all wrapped it up pretty
Okay.
well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, first of all, you know, Brandy will tell you that she loves when her pastor gets expository and starts doing these sermons where he's really breaking down the Bible. And so, you know, it is so important, especially, you know, the Bible in its totality is a lot to take in, right? I don't even know the page count. It's pretty stinking huge. But if we could just focus on the life of Jesus, you're talking about 4 1/4 books, really, because he's not really in Acts all that long.
Yeah.
You know, if you could just digest those things, that would get you so far down along the path, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the person that we're supposed to model our lives after. And so, you know, Pastor Tim, you know, especially going through these Beatitudes, he's trying to take what was Jesus's most important sermon that he really ever did, and give it to us in bite-sized nuggets. And it's been such a really good sermon series. And so, you know, if you haven't watched some of the Narrow Path, or if you've missed a couple episodes here or there, you know, Pastor Noel has preached and Eddie's preached a sermon in there.
Yep.
And Pastor Tim has spoken at a lot of them. You really want to go back and hit all of these, because taken in its whole, it tells this whole story of the Beatitudes, and we're not done yet, you know, as he continues to crunch through them.
We're only halfway through, baby.
Right. And it's, you know, that's a good starting point, you know. All too often people feel like, oh, I'm not a super Christian because maybe you don't know, you know, maybe you're at the place in your walk with Jesus where you're not able to do like Aaron and I tonight, where we're just rattling off things from the Bible and, you know, quoting scripture and things like that. That's okay. Like nobody's worried about where you're at in your walk. What we care about is that you start walking.
Yep.
And so the life of Jesus is such a great place to start walking. And so, you know, this is a great time to jump in with what the journey's doing and following along with Pastor Tim. And
YouTube playlist. I update it every
Yep.
week, so
Yep.
you can stay right up with everything.
that's right. Okay. Well, we came in, we did the thing. Hopefully, when we all go back and watch this later, and you guys that are watching this at home right now, our mics are leveled this time.
yeah, we don't know until we watch later. So sorry if it's a mess.
We're going to make an upgrade every single week. And speaking of that, really quickly, want to let you know that we are going to have our first guest coming up next week, in 2 weeks. So we're doing this the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday of every month. And so in 2 weeks, we will have Mr. Young Spunky himself. Our favorite Pastor Noel will be our first guest, and so we can't wait to get him in here
No
and to
dancing.
have him join us. Yeah,
Or maybe we can get him to dance.
I'm sure we could do something. Yeah, we'll
Show
try
one
to
of
put
those
him.
clips.
We'll try to
just
put him in
tell
a
him that's a
chair.
requirement.
But yeah,
We'll show one of his
Stay
clips
still.
him dancing around during worship. I mean, if you're not into worship, he'll get you there real
He
quick.
will,
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, let me pray for you guys, and then we'll let you go. Dear Lord Jesus, I'm just so thankful for my friends that were able to join me here online as we grow together and learn. I'm so thankful for the people in this room, God, that we're able to just sit and talk about the deep things of you. You know, we discussed so many amazing things tonight, from dealing with conflict to having peace in your life, to, you know, filling yourself up with you and the Father and getting away and being prepared for the day. So many great discussions tonight. And I'm just so thankful that we get opportunities to do this. I'm so thankful for my pastor, that, you know, he's willing to teach us, and then we can take stuff like this and we can go deeper and learn from it and grow even more in our walk with you. I pray blessing over everybody that's watching this, that they have a great rest of their week, and keep us all safe. We love you so much. In your name, amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody. It was good seeing you, and
Bye.
bye.
We need an outro.
We need an